I want to welcome everyone here today. Torah Fund events have always been important to the region. We've always enjoyed gathering together, and even though this year we are on Zoom, we still enjoying seeing each other. Torah Fund is the heart of Women's League for Conservative Judaism. It is our special mission to protect the seminaries that teach our clergy, to help the seminaries survive, to help make sure Judaism is passed down from generation to generation. Here in the MetroNorth region, we have over 1,600 members from 15 affiliates plus individual members, all who care deeply about the importance of continuing Jewish traditions. It is with your help that last year we were able to raise $69,000 for Torah Fund's general campaign and $1,239 for the Creating New Spaces campaign. Todah Rabbah to all who gave generously to Torah Fund. As I attend programs at different sisterhoods, I see how each affiliate might have different customs, but there is one similarity. They are all made up of good people who volunteer out of the goodness of their heart, and people who care about each other. I am proud of all the women in our region. I want to say thank you to all who helped out on today's program. Your help is vital to raising money for Torah Fund. A special thank you to Linda Klepner and Risa Stern for all your hard work. Thank you to Sandy Coppell, Mindy Steinholtz, and Nancy Sheff for always volunteering. Thank you to David Helfand for letting us see the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies. And a huge thank you to Karen Bellina from Women's League's main office for helping with all the technical details. Now I'd like to introduce Linda Klepner, Torah Fund VP, to say a few words. Linda.
Yes. On behalf of the officers and board of the MetroNorth region, I want to thank all of you for being here today to celebrate the Torah Fund and our wonderful honorees from our region affiliates. I am Linda Klepner, the Torah Fund Vice President of MetroNorth region. Torah Fund is the dedicated philanthropy of Women's League, and its mission is to support the students at the various conservative majority seminaries around the world. The Jewish Theological Seminary here in New York City, the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies in Los Angeles, the Schechter Institute in Jerusalem, the Seminario Rabbinico Latinoamerico in Buenos Aires, and the Zacharias Frankel School in Germany. We give every person the opportunity to participate in preserving, promoting, and perpetuating conservative majority Jewish higher education through the active support of these 5 seminaries. They educate our future rabbis, cantors, educators, and lay professionals, thereby increasing Torah knowledge around the world. I would venture that most of you are beneficiaries of this education. When you are moved by the melodies of the Chazan, when you study with your rabbi, or perhaps when you speak to him or her about personal matters, spiritual or pastoral, as you watch the children in your community grow in their knowledge. And the past 2 years have demonstrated the expertise and empathy their graduates and students embody. Our clergy and leaders have to involve and work in ways that we had never imagined. You should know that in the past fiscal year, Torah Fund raised over $1,275,000. The MetroNorth region alone raised over $69,000, with an additional $1,200 going to the Creating New Spaces special campaign. Torah Fund is a grassroots campaign, which means that donations of any and all amounts are always welcomed and appreciated. There are many ways to make a gift to Torah Fund. Now you can give a check to your affiliate Torah Fund share or give online. Our region had a donor who left a large bequest to Torah Fund. Did you know that you can do this? You can leave a legacy to Torah Fund, even when you are not here. Did you know such bequests are known and become part of the Torah Fund Legacy Society? Who belongs to this society? Anyone who includes Torah Fund in their estate planning and inform us of their desire to do so. This is a wonderful opportunity for individuals to impact the future of Jewish higher education and to demonstrate to their heirs their strong commitment to Jewish values.
Thank you, Linda. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our International President of Women's League for Conservative Judaism, Diane Goldstein. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning. Shalom, friends. I'm happy to be with you today. We have, excuse me, we have come together biyachad to learn, to share, and to raise funds for Torah Fund. Today gives me great pleasure to hear from Erev Rabbi David Helfand, a student at the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies. Many of you know that as president of Women's League, I serve on the boards of trustees at Ziegler and JTS. As a board member, I have the opportunity to meet the new students each year. And I remember so well that night 5 years ago when I met Rabbi Helfand. I've had the opportunity to see him periodically through these last 5 years, and I saw him in person just last week. We had a chance to speak, and I am as impressed with him now as I was 5 years ago. When you hear him speak today, you will understand why I say this. I am also filled with pride to recognize and honor all our special sisterhood women today. These women are the foundation of our organization and make our sisterhoods stronger. Women's League looks forward to sharing more opportunities for learning and engagement with all of our members. Through the magic of Zoom, all of our members can join in on programs all over North America. We have programs that include Women's League Reads, our book club where we interview the author, health and wellness programs, informative sessions that share programming ideas, membership programs that share information on how to retain members and get new ones, environmental programs, personal conversations, and ideas on how to develop new leadership for your sisterhood. And every day we have a service, on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, we have a service called Makom Biyachad, where almost 70 women regulars say Mishaberach, recite Morning's Kaddish, and study Psalms, Pirkei Avot, Mishnah, and the portion of the week. We are led by Women's League Executive Director, Rabbi Ellen Wollens-Fields, and educator, Rabbi Margie Sella. For more information on how to join Zoom, please read our weekly newsletter. It is called Women's League Week. It lists many other opportunities for learning and engagement and gives the Zoom links. Everyone who belongs to Women's League everyone who belongs to Sisterhood is also a member of Women's League and can join any and all of these programs in any sisterhood in North America and Israel, as well as the ones listed on the region level and the international level. If you do not receive the weekly newsletter, please put your name and email in the chat and I will subscribe you. I would like to highlight one program taking place called Who Owns the Western Wall? It will be on Sunday, January 30th at noon. Women's League is partnering with Women of the Wall and have invited Women of Reformed Judaism to participate with us. Speakers will include the Executive Director of Women of the Wall and Executive Directors of Women's League and Women of Reformed Judaism. Registration information can be found on this weekly message or on our website. I want to thank Linda Klepner and Lisa Green again, and all my friends in the MetroNorth region for inviting me to speak today and for your support to Women's League and Torah Fund. You make today possible. And as the world opens up, I hope to be together, biyachad, with you next year. Shalom.
Hello. Thank you, Debbie, for always speaking so well for Women's League. Now I would like to introduce Barbara Eschring, Women's League for Conservative Judaism's Torah Fund Chair, to say a few words.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be with you, biyachad, together. Thank you so much for inviting me to bring greetings to Torah Fund. And I'm really pleased to attend my second MetroNorth Regional Torah Fund event, thanks to Zoom. Today, we'll have the opportunity to learn about the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies and meet one of their rabbinical students. David Helfand represents the outstanding students of the institutions of higher Jewish learning that we support. We are celebrating the 80th anniversary of Torah Fund this year. In the midst of World War II, Dora Spiegel, president of Women's League, and her leadership founded Torah Fund. They encouraged every woman who was a member of a sisterhood to donate $6.11 to provide scholarships at the Jewish Theological Seminary. The gematria, the numerical value of Torah, is 611. Since 1942, our donations to Torah Fund have supported scholarships, programming, and special learning spaces for future conservative Masorti leaders worldwide. During the last year and a half, we have been guided by gifted rabbis, cantors, educators, Hillel directors, hospital and military chaplains, and lay leaders, as well as student rabbinical and cantorial interns. They give us the support and they provide the spirituality that we need in these challenging times. Our donations to Torah Fund honor our clergy, the graduates of our institutions of higher Jewish education, and they aid our future conservative Masorti leaders. Thank you for your dedication and your support of Torah Fund. Mazal Tov to the special women who are being honored today. Hatzlacha. We will continue to work biyachad, together, to achieve success. Thank you so much for including me today in this event. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and I'm ready to enjoy a beautiful program.
Thank you, Barbara, for all your work you do for Torah Fund. Now I would like to introduce to you Rabbi Paul Kurlan of Congregation Shir Shalom to give a Devar Torah.
It really is a blessing to be with all of you today, not only to honor the women from my congregation, but all of the honorees. And of course, giving the Devar Torah, you would assume that I'm going to speak about this week's Torah portion. But I have to be honest with you. Yesterday, we read the 10 Commandments. So I'm going to last week's Torah portion and not this week's. Because when I read the 10 Commandments, as we all know, there were two tablets. And it reminded me of other twos within our tradition. We had the two challahs on Friday night. Of course, that was part of the two portions of manna in the wilderness on Friday. We had two candles that we lit on Friday night and on holidays, of course. And then I realized that in the book of Ecclesiastes, it says, Tovim hashnayim min ha'achad. Two are better than one. And we even come to understand that not only do we find the beauty of relationships with a spouse, that's a nice two, or a dear friend, that's a nice two, or parent and child, that's a wonderful two as well. But that God is also described as needing that kind of relationship. So God had a relationship with Israel. So it's God and all of us. And we realize that God cannot exist within a vacuum. It's not good for either people to be alone or for God to be left alone either. And I can't help but remember this incredible writing by one of my colleagues, Rabbi Diane Goldstein, who lives out in California, who once wrote about her time in rabbinical school. It was the loneliness that she felt when she left her teenage children back in California so she could come and finish her rabbinical training at the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York. And she explained that the hardest times were those sacred times. Shabbat, she didn't have anyone to bless. Pesach, she didn't have anyone to ask the questions. And Purim, she had no one to help get costumed up for the holiday. So she wrote the following, and I share her words with you today. One Friday, early in my first year alone, I finished preparing for Shabbat, set up the candlesticks my mother had bought for me, inserted the candles, and prepared to bench licht. Normally, there's a wonderful sense of linkage to generations past, from my mother through her mother, as far back as the Jewish memory can carry. I looked at the candles and remembered my mother's candles and felt not so quite bad. I'm carrying on a tradition that was not so much constantly taught to me as passed to me with the color of my eyes. The candles are part of who I am, and most nights, when I prepare to light them, the sense of perpetuating something wonderful overtakes me. But that particular Friday, I was overworked, worrying about the bills and about my children, and looking around and finding no one in the kitchen but me. The loneliness was palpable. I lit the candles, passed my hands over them, covered my eyes and whispered the bracha. I stood for a moment or two, seeking God and attempting to move into the cathedral of time, that cathedral that God had given us. Then I uncovered my eyes and saw the candles as if for the first time. After nearly 25 years of lighting candles, I was seeing them for the first time. 2 pure white candles, and for the first time, I understood the necessity of 2. One is for the woman lighting them. The other is for God. I learned in that instance that I was not alone, that I would never be alone, that each time I lit candles, I would be reminded that my blessing, my love for God, and my search for God had brought God into the room with me. Years have passed. I've had other Friday nights of loneliness and fear and isolation until I light my candles. And then I know, without a shadow of a doubt, that I am not alone. Those were the words of Rabbi Diane Goldstein. And I would say that we've now come full circle. The 2 of the candles, the 2 of the individual and God. And there are so many of the mitzvot that we think about when we read yesterday's Parsha. So many of the mitzvot from Mount Sinai that offer each of us the opportunity to perceive that relationship with God, as powerful as Rabbi Cohen does when she lights her candles. We are in an eternal partnership with God, eternal relationships that speak to us as individuals and as an entire people. And the beauty of it is, as I end, that we will be celebrating all of those 2s of Judaism forever. God bless us all, and thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Curlin, for that meaningful Devar Torah. Next, we have a short video from Rabbi Bradley Artson, Dean of the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies.
Shalom, my friends. It's always wonderful to get to spend time with the leadership of Women's League for Conservative Judaism and to be able to share some thoughts and share some Torah. So let me jump in, first of all, by saying thank you for being you, and thank you for the good work that you do and that you've done as an organization for over a century, making the Jewish world better and helping to hold us responsible for the kind of ethical commitments to deepen each other's humanity and to allow each other to thrive. I want to offer a brief Dvar Torah that's not really a Dvar Torah, it's more a Dvar Tefillah, a word about a prayer that we say every morning, but I think it's put in the morning service because it's meant to waken us and it's meant to orient us so that we live our day differently. If you're like me, then sometimes the way you wake up is before you're fully conscious, you start a list of here's the things I need to do today. And so the day begins not as an opportunity and not as a gift. It begins as a checklist. Here are chores, and success is when I can cross them off my list, rather than today is an opportunity for encounters that will awaken my soul, that will give me and other people joy, that will allow us to all thrive together. And our Siddur asks us to pivot away from a chore mentality to a gift mentality. So here's the prayer I want us to look at. Ashreinu ma tov chelkenu u'ma na'im goralenu u'ma yafa yerushatenu. How good is our portion. Ashreinu is how joyous we ought to be, how pleasant our lot, how beautiful our heritage. And then another Ashreinu. Ashreinu sha'anachnu maskimim u'marivim erev vavoker. How happy we are that it's our privilege twice every day, morning and evening, to wake up and to declare, and then it goes into Shema Yisrael. So twice a day, we get to be the people who declare the unity of it all, the oneness of it all, the way that everything is connected to everything and related to everything else. And that should be a source of joy. It means that our mission in the world is to build relationships, to bring together, to harmonize, and to unify. And that's who we are as Jews, happy unifiers, the ones who bring people together, the ones who recognize the oneness that calls us into being. And we get to do that a couple times a day. And that's what our heritage is. Our heritage is an elaborate tool to cultivate the mindset of unity and connection and relationship. And then it's a technology for how to implement that. So the Siddur invites us not just to create an agenda for the day to be checked off a list, but more profoundly to pivot our hearts to see the day as an opportunity and as a blessing, and then filled with joy to go about the work of building the kind of world that God and we want to live in. Shalom.
And now Linda Klepner will say a few words about our keynote speaker, David Helfand.
Hi again. This year has been a challenge for the entire world. These times have made it clear we need to rely on our heritage and on one another. We need to practice chesed, loving kindness, the Torah Fund theme from 2019 to 2020. And we need to remember that we are all be'achad, together. The theme from 2020 to 2022 and carried over through 2020 to 2021 and carried over through 2022. Today, we have the chance to do something that we not do in any ordinary year. No plane tickets required, no jet lag. We are going virtually, and we get to go together to visit the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies at the American University in Los Angeles. The school is headed by Rabbi Bradley Artson. It is my pleasure to present the video coordinated and presented by David Helfand for today's program. David is currently a fifth-year rabbinical student studying at the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies and at the same time pursuing a master's in Jewish education from American Jewish University. I think we are in for a wonderful visit with these representatives of the school. For several years, I've been telling you that gifts to Torah Fund help to support the students at the seminaries, and now we get to see the fruits of our work. Thank you, David, for arranging the outstanding program. We wish all of you well in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Linda. Good morning, Boker Tov, Shavua Tov, everybody. In a moment, we'll see the video of the university itself and the Ziegler School. But before we do that, I just want to make a note, and you all know the video you just saw of my beloved mentor, teacher, rabbi, and dean, Rabbi Artson. His father unfortunately passed away yesterday afternoon on Shabbat. And I want to just elevate his name. His father's name was David Artson, David Ben Bina. May his memory endure for a blessing, and may the Torah that we're about to learn, as well as the Torah that Rabbi Artson shared and Rabbi Kurlan shared, all be for a blessing for Rabbi Artson's father's memory. So with that in mind, we'll take a look at beautiful sunny Los Angeles, and then I'll share some words with you afterwards. So sit back and enjoy a quick tour and a spotlight of a few of our students at the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies.
Sha'arei Chesed. The moon is new and your seat is empty. I remember how you sat here, wounded like a lonely city. I turned my back to you as if I didn't care, wishing you would teach me from the book for imperfect people, in the language you speak well, like you did one night that was complete as a city at noon under date palms. At dawn, I wanted to kiss your forehead. You turned your closed eyes to the wall, and I forgot to say the prayer for the road. The city was brisk and brilliant, like your mind.
Hi, my name is Avram Elner, and I'm a current rabbinical student at the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies, and I'm very happy to have this opportunity to share some Torah with all of you today. One of the verses from our tradition, which continues to inspire me, and it's something that I continue to find deep meaning in, comes from Psalm 118, which we recite during Hallel. And that pasuk is Min hametzar karatiya anani bamerchavia. From the narrow place, I reached out to the Holy One, and the Holy One answered me by bringing me to a place of expansiveness. I think what's beautiful about this verse is that it emphasizes the dynamic relationship that we can have with God, whatever God is, and that this relationship, this process, actually allows us to move from a place of constriction to a place of expansiveness, and that the emphasis here is actually on the relationship that we have with the world around us, with the people around us, and that those relationships are the things that help us contextualize our lives and help us find meaning in our lives. And this feels particularly poignant to me during my time at Ziegler, where it's very clear to me that what makes Ziegler such a special place and why I am so grateful to be a student there is from being able to cultivate relationships with my fellow students and with the faculty. And it's very clear to me that I wouldn't have the education that I have today if it weren't for the people I'm studying with. Thank you.
Welcome to the American Jewish University's Familian campus. The campus is spread over 35 acres in one of Los Angeles' most desirable neighborhoods. This unique location offers impressive panoramic views of the San Fernando Valley as well as other parts of Los Angeles. It's located between the 405 and the 101 freeways in Los Angeles. Here you can see the panoramic view of the sculpture garden on the back side of the campus, and we'll take a tour of the sculpture garden in just a little bit. In the meantime, enjoy the tour as we see some of the different scenes around the school itself. Welcome to the Beit Midrash, the Sarah V'Simcha Leiner Beit Midrash, which is where the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies spends most of its time learning Torah, gathering its community, and sharing space with one another. The Beit Midrash is home to morning and afternoon minyanim. It's home to study day in and day out, as well as other programming that the school puts on. There is a beautiful plaque on the wall as dedication from the Women's League of Conservative Judaism for all of the donation and support that they have provided to the students over the course of the years. I'm sure many of the congregations that you all represent are represented on the plaque itself. Here's our beautiful shulchan, our table where we read Torah and lead our services from, and our Aron Kodesh featuring the Sifrei Torah. The Beit Midrash is the hub of learning for the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies and is a place that many people call their second home. Welcome to the Shapiro Memorial Synagogue. Here at the synagogue, we gather for special minyanim, special programming, and opportunities to learn from our fellow students. This year, we hosted the very first Ziegler School Senior Sermon Slam, where the seniors got to share their own Divrei Torah with the rest of their student body and their peers and their families, and it was housed in this beautiful sanctuary, which was dedicated in honor of the Shapiro family several years ago. This is one of the side rooms that's often used with the synagogue, either for classes or for conversion beit dins, or whatever it might be necessary to be used for. Welcome to the Mikvah, the only egalitarian mikvah on the West Coast. The mikvah is a beautiful and tranquil space. It's used for immersions, for conversions, for weddings, and for really anybody who would like to be spiritually immersed in the beautiful Mayim Chaim, the beautiful living waters of the mikvah. As you can tell, the mikvah is a very peaceful place, a place where people come to have moments with themselves of introspection, reflection, preparation, prayer, and really just enter a state of pure bliss from the calm, peaceful waters as well as the beautiful scenes. Welcome to the Ostro Library. The Ostro Library is home to not only our stacks and our books and our regular selection of reading materials in different rooms around the school for you to be able to learn from and gain inspiration from, but it's also home of the Lowey Winkler family reading room, rare book collection. In addition to over 284,000 print books and ebook titles, there are 31,000 print and e-journals, as well as several different study rooms and couches and areas for people to spend their time in and learn with each other and really just pursue their own individual curiosity and academic learning. There's also much Judaica and tapestry along the walls, and there are, again, several study rooms that can be used for programs, for classes, for individual private study as well. Our next stop is the Lowey Winkler Family Rare Book Center, which was a gift of Peter and Janine Lowey, and it's home to the Maslin Bible collection. It also includes over 4,000 Bibles, some dating back to almost hundreds of years ago. It includes the Bibliotheca Ivrit, the collection of Rabbi Emil Klein, the Survivors Talmud, the Warner Frank collection, the Agam Rainbow Torah, and so many other beautiful and important artifacts and rare books. And it's curated by a fellow sister from Shomrei Torah Synagogue in West Hills, Jackie Ben Ephraim, who is also the Torah Fund chair at that synagogue. And finally, our tour ends in the Sculpture Garden, a space where you can walk with a teacher, with a friend, take a moment to sit under a gazebo, enjoy the sights and sounds, take in a beautiful agriculture and the plants, as well as the beautiful arts and sculptures of the campus itself. That's the American Jewish University campus, and we hope that you come to visit us.
So it's clear that my path really is meant to be a rabbi and not a movie editor, but I appreciate you all taking the tour with me and being along for the ride. And I just want to make sure you all can see me. There we go. And I'd love to share a couple of words with you this morning. But first, I have to say thank you to Linda, to Lisa, and to Debbie for giving me this opportunity to both share the campus and the school with you all, as well as share the words that I'm about to share with you this morning. And it's also really lovely to see so many familiar faces and names on the Zoom screen, as well as future colleagues that I look forward to being welcomed by all of you and join together one day to continue this holy work that we do in the Rabbinate. And I thank you all in advance for all of your support that you provide and for voting us new rabbis in the Rabbinical Assembly. So it's an honor to be with you all this morning as we celebrate your annual Torah Fund event. Growing up in a large conservative congregation in Kansas City, the annual Women's League Torah Fund luncheon was always a highlight of the programmatic year. I was fortunate enough to attend several of them when I was younger, as my mother was the chair of them. And it's always incredible to see a committed group of people gathered together to learn, to celebrate, and to support the conservative movement. So I'd like to share a little bit of my story with you all and share some lessons that I've learned over the years of rabbinical school. I tend to be stubborn, perhaps even naive. Growing up, people would ask me, David, what do you want to do with your life? And throughout my childhood, I wanted to be an anchor for SportsCenter on ESPN. But friends would suggest that I was better suited for holier work than a sports catchphrase. And as time went on, their suggestion continued to reverberate in my mind and in my heart, each day becoming louder and louder. David, you should become a rabbi. So I finally embraced the journey that I was being called for, and I started my studies at the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies in Los Angeles in the fall of 2017. The prophet Micah says to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with God. Even more impactful than being an active laner or davener at my conservative synagogue, I found my true passion, a sense of avodat kodesh, of holy work, and working with teenagers as a part of USY, Nativ, and Camp Ramah in Northern California. As a proud, born and raised conservative Jew, it was through these experiences that I embraced the idea of entering the rabbinate and aspiring to live a life of justice, mercy, and holy work. One of the most powerful and impactful experiences of my teenage years was serving as the international president of USY. During my tenure as president, my appreciation for teaching and for learning Torah took a whole new meaning. Being USY international president taught me about accepting everyone for who they are, independent of title or position. I was able to master the great teaching from Pirkei Avot, from ethics of our ancestors, Have mekabel kol adam b'sever panim yafot, a presence of warmth and welcoming to all those that I meet. I learned not only from my teachers, but from my peers what it meant to live a fulfilling Jewish life by building deep-seated relationships with fellow Jews from around the world. The powerful moments teaching and studying Torah with conservative Jews of all ages on a regular basis, both in the United States and in Israel, deepened my love for teaching and for learning, in addition to help me grow as a Jewish adult. Reflecting back on the time in that position, I know that I matured greatly through those experiences and constructive moments, growing emotionally, intellectually, and of course, spiritually. Eagerly learning how to teach and experience Torah uniquely for each soul, my latest journey milestone as the rabbinic intern at Shomrei Torah Synagogue in Los Angeles, where I serve as rabbinic intern. Working at Shomrei Torah has taught me the importance of being part of a community and the importance of working collaboratively as a team, as part of that in Klal Yisrael, that of the Jewish people. Receiving amazing mentorship from the clergy, from the staff and lay leadership and community, while also being able to share Torah reminds me that this holy work, this Avodat Kodesh, is a curriculum and process, and one that our teachers and our students subscribe to. Cultivating relationships with people, listening to their Torah, sharing my Torah from the bima or in a classroom has helped solidify that the rabbinate is absolutely what my calling is. Whether teaching in religious school, leading adult education experiences, speaking from the pulpit, or comforting a mourner and a family, those relationships have enhanced the importance of this Avodat Kodesh that I am blessed to grow from and continue to explore. Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. I'm excited to continue taking the steps and immersing myself in our rich tradition of the past while learning how to help others experience the vibrant gift of Judaism in the present. And I look forward to learning more with my chevrutot, my study partners, studying the halacha of our movement, engaging myself in Torah study, Torah lishma, and I'm eager to continue my love and commitment of celebrating Shabbat as a contemplative time, a way of nourishing my soul, of nurturing my relationship with God, and doing so as a part of the rabbinic community, and God willing, one day as a part of a community where I serve as a rabbi. Since 1942, the Torah Fund campaign for the Women's League of Conservative Judaism has been supporting now 5 conservative or Masorti rabbinical schools around the world. The Torah Fund campaign has raised millions of dollars to help the future of conservative rabbis attend rabbinical school, as well as raise money for the maintenance and upkeep of the institutions themselves. Torah Fund provides for students like myself to excel to greatness with strength during the course of our schooling. So on behalf of all rabbinical students, both past, present, and future, I say toda rabah to you all for your incredible dedication, generosity, and commitment. This year, Women's League and their Torah Fund campaign celebrate the theme and the pin of biyachad, of togetherness. And what has been such a challenging period of time for us, we are in such need of being together. So I'd like to share a piece of Torah with you all that shares about togetherness. The Torah reading that we read yesterday morning from Parshat Yitro recalls revelation and the receiving of the 10 Commandments. And leading up to the 10 Commandments, chapter 19 of Exodus sets the scene for what is about to happen. B'chodesh hashlishi latzeit b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Yitzrayim bayom hazeh ba'u midbar Sinai. Vayisu merifidim vayavo midbar Sinai vayachanu b'midbar vayichan sham Yisrael neged ahar. On the 3rd new moon after the Israelites had gone forth from the land of Egypt, on that very day they entered the wilderness of Sinai. Having journeyed from Rephidim, they entered the wilderness of Sinai and encamped in the wilderness. Israel encamped there in front of the mountain. The Torah tells us that after wandering for some period of time, the Jewish people camped in front of the mountain. A close read of the text tells us that the word for camped, vayichan, which is written in the singular. If there are so many people gathered together at the foot of the mountain, why does the Torah write with the singular word? Comes Rashi, the medieval commentator, to tell us that the Israelites camped ki ish echad belev echad, that Israel camped as one person with one heart, one mind. This is such a profound statement of community and togetherness. When we gather in times of great miracles, or perhaps in times of great uncertainty, we gather together as a people with one heart. But I'd like to take this one step further and share an insight that I gained through my studies in rabbinical school. The great Hasidic master, the Ma'or Veshemesh, Rabbi Kalamanis Kalman Halevi Epstein, who lived during the 18th century, he explains that receiving the Torah, the essential thing on which everything else depends, is that there be love, brotherhood, or in this case, sisterhood, among the children of Israel. For Rabbi Epstein, there must be unity and togetherness. We must be biyachad. When there is a peace among us, Rabbi Epstein continues, God's divine presence rests among us. And when there is peace among us, and love, fraternity, friendship, we are then fit to receive the Torah. For through our joining together is the Torah made complete. And with ease can each of us join to our root, which is the Torah. So at this time, in the receiving of the Torah and moving forward, Israel camped together, Ke'ish echad belev echad, one people with one heart, thereby meriting the Torah and revelation of the Shekhinah, of the divine presence, face to face. May we all join together, biyachad, as a conservative Jewish family, as Women's League, and as members of the greater Jewish people in the world, to show that the love for one another and embrace the beauty that the world has for us, together and connected. Toda Rabbah.
Thank you, David, for your thoughtful words and putting together the wonderful video. I wish you good luck as your future as a rabbi. And thank you also for letting us know about the passing of Rabbi Artzen's father. May his memory be for a blessing. Now I would like to welcome Sandy Compel, Nancy Sheff, and Risa Stern to present the Torah Fund honorees for this year. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Diane Moranis. Diane and her family have been members of CAIR for over 40 years. She has been an active member of Sisterhood, holding positions as secretary, co-president, and Torah Fund chair. She is an ardent supporter of Torah Fund and proudly wears our annual Torah Fund pins. Yasha Koach, Diane. Next, I would like to honor Harriet Gossen, who is very, very deserving of our honoree of Or Olam, East 55th Street Synagogue. She is an active member of the synagogue and a devoted member of Women's League. She participates in all our programs, leads book review discussions, and assists with our support of all our events, our fundraisers, our suppers, our Shalach Monet project, and Torah Fund is a special position that Harriet is so ably and willingly undertakes and does year after year after year. Thank you so much, Harriet and Yashikoa.
Hello, I'm Nancy Sheff from Rockland County. Pleased to acknowledge the Rockland County honorees. First, from Congregation Shir Shalom, Eileen Nekrich. Eileen is a truly caring person who is kind to everyone and is welcoming to both young and old. She has been Torah Fund co-vice president for many years and has been a member of the Kiddush Committee and the Religious School PTA at Nanuet Hebrew Center, which is now Congregation Shir Shalom. She is always there to help when you need. Yishar kochech to Eileen. Thank you. Next is Shari Winkler. There are few people with more on their plate than Shari Winkler, who juggles work with raising a family. You can tell her love of Judaism, which stems from going to weekly services with her father. Shari has been Torah Fund co-vice president for many years and is an active member of Nanuet Hebrew Center, again, which is now Congregation Shir Shalom. Thank you, Shari, for all you do. From New City Jewish Center, Jill Deegan. Jill Deegan has been a continuous supporter of Torah Fund and is now sitting on the MetroNorth Regional Board as Communications Secretary. She is also a past president of New City Jewish Center Sisterhood, former vice president of membership, and currently holds the position of treasurer. She is a great asset to our sisterhood team and a dear friend as well. She also instills engagement in synagogue life to her two children, Zach and Ben. Her husband is on multiple boards for Jewish causes, including New City Jewish Center. We are so appreciative to Jill. Mazal tov. And from the Orangetown Jewish Center, Diane Goldstein. Since she first became a member of the Orangetown Jewish Center some 12 years ago, Diane Goldstein has exemplified the true meaning of chesed. Not only has she been an active and supportive member of sisterhood, but her participation and talents, which she has given so generously to her congregation, have shown in so many areas of our community. From organizing Kiddush after services on Shabbat and Friday night dinners for our members to enjoy, from being involved with our youth group, to helping with programs for our more senior members, Diane is always there. Mazal tov, Diane, and thank you for all you do.
Good morning. I am Risa Stern from Bethel Synagogue in New Rochelle. I will be telling you about our honorees from Westchester County. We're starting with Gay Altman. Gay Altman is synonymous with Torah Fund. If you mention Torah Fund at Beth Torah, Gay's name immediately comes to mind. Gay is the voice of sisterhood, reminding our members and Beth Torah congregants that conservative Judaism's past, current, and future leaders are trained and educated at JTS. Although Gay will always remind you that she works within process and always with a committee, our Torah Fund programs and fundraisers are her passion and incorporate her vision. We are honored to have her as our Torah Fund chair honoree, and we wish her yasher koach, going from strength to strength, continuing as that voice for Torah Fund at Bet Torah. At Bethel, New Rochelle, we are so lucky to have Janice DiMartini as part of our community. Janice is a dedicated worker and chaired our Torah Fund campaign with vigor and grace. She is a loyal sisterhood member who is always willing to say yes to any request for help, and is also eager to keep learning and deepening her Jewish knowledge. We hope she will continue to be part of our Bethel JTS family, and may she be well and go even higher in her endeavors. Thank you, Janice. The Greenberg Hebrew Center is proud to honor Naomi Rosenberg on behalf of Torah Fund. Naomi joined the Greenberg Hebrew Center in 2007 and immediately became involved in sisterhood and the congregation. Naomi is one of those people who always finds a way to help and say yes, whether it's delivering Shiva meals and Shalach Manok packages on behalf of sisterhood, calling members who do not use the internet to notify them of deaths in the community, and helping to organize sisterhood events. Naomi has served on the board of trustees of the congregation and numerous committees such as nominating, caring community, and usher squad. Her compassion and thoughtfulness are her hallmarks. Greenberg Hebrew Center Sisterhood is so grateful and blessed that Naomi is an integral part of our community. We thank her for all of her valuable contributions, her compassion and support of religious life and the Greenberg Hebrew Center community. Thank you to all the honorees.
I want to thank you all for coming here today and joining us on our tour of the Ziegler School of Rabbinic Studies. Thank you for Debbie, Barbara, Rabbi Curlin, and David, and all who presented here for today. Congratulations to our Torah Fund honorees. Again, thank you all for coming and have a great day.